Whoa. This year has been insane. Honestly, ever since we bought this property, there has been so much time, money, hard work, early mornings, late nights put into this, and there's still so much more. Purchasing a homestead is never just like you make one purchase and then for the rest of your life everything works really great. It's going to be a lot of work, a lot of money up front, and it's going to continue and it's going to keep going as you grow. So buckle up your seats, because today we're talking about our journey of starting our homestead, the Split Arrow homestead, how we got here today, all the work that it's taken, and a little bit of a glimpse of what we're thinking about in the future. I'm Danielle at the Split Arrow homestead, and welcome to our channel. Now let's get to talking about how it actually all started. This story obviously did not start here. It started off living in the city. Chris and I, my husband, actually lived in the city together for a while. We worked in the city. Our whole entire life and world really revolved around the city. But we always talked about wanting more, wanting to go places, wanting to have our own land and turn our house into our vacation. I think it's one thing to travel the world and go places and visit places, and over the past couple of years we learned that sometimes you can't even do that, and we knew that we wanted our world to be our paradise, to be that destination that we love to come home to, we love to be at, and every day we transform our property into that. And that's kind of why we started looking for land. So our criteria was the more land, the better. Unfortunately, we also did want to stay close to our family, which really did tighten up the amount of land opportunities because we were still pretty close to a city. We are a good 2 hours from it, but still living in the outskirts of a city definitely does kind of lock you into smaller portions of land. We did lock this amazing 10 acres, and we kicked off our journey by actually getting married underneath this beautiful tree. And this is where our love story really began, and where we were able to make so many dreams come true, not only ours. And when we did kick off things here, we did so much work on the interior of our house, which we've shared a lot on our channel about how we restored our kitchen, how we've painted the outside, did so much around that. But we also focused a lot on building up the land so that we're able to farm it, garden from it, and raise our own animals. And my one tip here is going to be that you can always find a diamond in the rough. When we got our house, it actually was on the market for over 2 years, and it was really a dingy place when you walked in it. The septic was gone. The water was not drinkable. There was like crazy things in it, arsenic, lead, craziness, and there was no opportunity to really plug into public works. And you're gonna find that when you do live in a more rural area, you really aren't using the public septic systems or public water. You're going to need your own well and your own septic tank. And that really was a big burden on this house, because putting in a septic tank can be thousands of dollars. And ours ran up to be a little bit under $50,000, which is definitely not something that you want as you're becoming a new homeowner, but it also gives you leverage when you do want to purchase a house, because you really can't live in a house unless it has functioning toilets and water, depending on where you live in the world. But in a state that we live in, you weren't even allowed to live here. So we were able to use that as leverage to actually get the price down on our house. So I really suggest that maybe at first sight, you don't actually find the house that you want, the land that you want, but search high and low and search things that might not be in your range. This is definitely above the range in cost that we wanted, but because there were so many things that were wrong with it, we were able to really fight down the price and get it more than 50% off in price, and it came in a lot lower than our budget was even at the beginning. My next tip is, before you even start looking at land or at houses, to write a list of your needs and your wants. Needs are anything that you 100% need to have. For example, here in the state that we live in, you cannot live in a like an RV or a van or anything like that. You have to have an established house to live in the land. So we knew that we wanted to find land that already had a house structure on it that we could live in while we started to build up the rest of our land. But the quality of our land was also something that we really needed. We looked at a few different properties, and we found some properties that had really bad flooding and areas that weren't really workable with what we wanted. So knowing that we needed good land and we needed a house, we needed those items, and then the nice to haves were on the side that we didn't necessarily need to have. They were things that we could add in later on. And being able to flesh out a list of what you actually 100% need is going to make it a lot easier when you look at houses or plots of land, and you can help decide on if it's a truly good value or not. The housing market is insane right now, so a lot of times you're hearing that people really need to make a decision yesterday and come in with cash, but looking at properties that might not be as desirable but have things that you might need in your property is going to be a loophole that you might be able to work with, whereas other people want that move-in ready house. And if you're able to put in the time and a little bit of elbow grease, then you could get that lower quality house and turn it into the house of your dreams, kind of like what we did here. Purchasing our first house, we learned so many lessons, especially when you want to be working the land a lot more. And one of the lessons that we learned really quick was we looked at our house during the dry season, and it looked great. Everything was wonderful. The grass looked wonderful. It looked like everything was perfect in regards to the land. But in our first wet season, we were able to see that the land did flood in a lot of areas, and this really prohibits us from working the land in some of those areas. So one tip that I would definitely suggest is, if you're able to go to the property at different times of year in different weather conditions, be it snow, rain, sun, anything of the likes, and test out what it's like in those different conditions, it's going to help you understand a little bit more about what could be a possible floody area or wet area versus something that might be bone dry and not even able to grow something in. I don't know about you, but when we started homesteading, I honestly thought that it was going to be a very cheap lifestyle. And it's anything but that. It's very expensive. We've definitely spent majority of our money the past couple of years on our animals, building out their home, which I stand in front of right here, their barn, that we've turned into a safe living condition. We really reinforced so no predators can enter. We've purchased their food, we've purchased cages, we've purchased a lot of things to make it livable and a good life for our animals. And when you start your homestead, you're going to realize that it is not cheap, and saving money is going to be really important to not only being able to purchase the land and the house that is on it so that you can live, but also being able to have enough money to create a good lifestyle for your animals, because you want to be able to grow them in a nice way, in a good life, so that they can help provide for you. So I definitely suggest that you start now on being able to budget. There's a lot of things that you can actually purchase secondhand. There are rabbit cages that people sell that are in really great condition, that are going to last for years, that you can purchase pre-used on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist or anything of the likes. And I definitely suggest staying within a tight budget, especially at the beginning, because there's going to be things that you don't know you're going to need, or random accidents that happen that you're going to have to be there to help out with. So being able to save at the beginning, and maybe it doesn't look as nice in the beginning, is really going to help you in the long term. And what's also nice about this is when you do start everything, so like I said, we have our barn, and it was really just an old horse barn, and we started turning the stalls into areas for each of our animals. So we have a section for our rabbits. We took 2 barn stalls and turned it into a chicken coop with a run. And what's nice about this is we were able to work with what we had and turn it into something that is ideal for our animals. Animals are very dirty, and no matter if you put them in a brand new barn or if you put them in a 1955 original horse barn, they're gonna make it pretty dirty. So I definitely suggest don't be putting in something brand new at the beginning. If you can, try to live with what you have, or take anything that's pre-used and build it into what you might be able to use, because you're going to start to actually do a lot of learning during this stage, and you're going to learn what you really need, how your animals cohabitat with you, what it's like. I mean, you don't want to end up putting in a barn and then realizing that maybe that's a flood area, or it's too close to your neighbors and they're hearing a rooster in the morning. So really think about how can you make things movable or transitionable, so that in the future you can keep iterating or changing on them and you aren't too upset about what it looks like. If you learn anything today, I hope it's that you learn that anyone can start their own homestead, and my best advice is to start now. Do whatever you can to start your own herb garden, maybe to start raising quail from your balcony, or start with a chicken or 2. Start your own garden. Start something. Start reading. Start researching. Do something now so that you're ready for the next step. Start writing down your needs and wants for the land that you might want. Reach out to a realtor and start talking about some of the ideas that you have and what you can do to start working towards it. Or start saving money. All you have to do is take a little bit of money each week, each paycheck, and put it into a fund that you can start to work towards buying your own land. But without starting today, you're never going to get to where you want to be, and it's definitely a long journey, and putting in the hard work at the beginning is going to help build you for the hard work that is still going to come. Every morning we do a lot of things on our homestead to keep it running as a fine oil machine. There's a lot of automations that we have set up here, from our watering systems to our feeding systems, and it's always a joy to go in and see all of our animals and to watch our garden and grow. And we would have never gotten to where we are today unless we started doing something. I definitely think that it can be scary and intimidating to purchase your own land and to start this journey, but know that so what, you get a few chickens and it scares you. Just keep going through it. Keep trying, keep putting in the time, the effort, and the more that you do it, the easier it's gonna get. And then you can start to grow and grow even more. Now, we definitely have a future here. We have a lot of ideas that go through our mind every day of what we want to keep adding and what we don't. And I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. So we're really happy at the place that we are today. We have a large amount of backyard chickens. We have turkeys, guinea fowl, rabbits, our 2 pups, and a beautiful garden. And I am so thankful for what has brought us here today. I'm so happy for the journey that we've taken, and I can't wait to keep on taking this journey with you all. Thank you so much for being along on this journey with us and for continuing on with us. Comment down below what your journey looks like, what you're working towards. I'd love to hear it, and we'll see you guys again next time.